Are you a high performing business owning man who doesn't know what his emotional needs are? Well, good news. One, you're not alone. That's a very, very common thing. Two, I want to speak to this a little bit and give some context and some, in service, help you to identify them so that you can both connect with yourself at a very, very deep level and be able to um, regulate yourself, calm yourself down, return back to your own center, your personal power, and create whatever it is that you want, right? From a more grounded, loving, light, and creative place. Okay, so if you don't know what your emotional needs are, there's a really big chance that we are disconnected from ourselves. We're dissociated from our emotions. And when we feel very powerful emotions, sadness, anger, joy, love, fear, sexual attraction, right? Any of these things, and we don't know what to do with them, then we often end up coping, right? There's a lot of sensation inside of me and my system, and I don't know what to do with it. And as a kid, right, either these emotions were inconvenient, they were invalidated, or my parents found a way of fixing this. Oh, you're sad? Here's a lollipop, right? Oh, you're crying? I'll give you something to cry about, right? And so what do? We stop, and then we end up having to put on a mask, right? Who do I have to be in order to continue to receive my parents' love and not get my ass kicked, or how do I get the lollipop, right? And so these patterns of behavior emerge, these ways of being manifest themselves. Like, for example, so that lollipop, I'm sad, so my mom would give me a lollipop. As I get older and the world begins to open up to me, I'm sad, I have money, I can continue to have a lollipop, or that lollipop eventually becomes cocaine. That lollipop eventually becomes alcohol. That lollipop eventually becomes sex, prostitutes, pornography, right? Like anything to help us cope with these big feelings that we have, because we don't really know, nor were we taught how to just sit down or stop moving and just feel these things. Our inability to sit and simply feel our emotions and just get still, get quiet, and allow ourselves to be in the discomfort. Okay, our inability to do that has led us to coping with. Sometimes even personal development will be a coping mechanism. Sometimes we'll read a book that'll help us understand ourselves, or about trauma, and we'll go down this YouTube rabbit hole where we will understand all that there is to understand about trauma and the brain and the nervous system and all these other things. And so it'll help us, it'll give us that dopamine hit of, all right, I understand this now, so I feel like I have some semblance of control over it. But that is different than identifying what your emotional needs are. You may learn about them, right? But the ability to identify them in real time, that comes with implementation. That comes with practice. Okay? So when you were sad as a kid and your mom gave you the lollipop, I'm sure that she meant well. But is that what you really needed? Did you need the lollipop, or did you just need a hug? Really, really be with that. Really, really take some time with that one. Did you need the lollipop, or did you need a hug? And when you were afraid, and your father was like, or you were crying, right? And your dad is like, I'll give you something to cry about, right? What did you need in those moments? Did you need the threat of physical violence? Right? No, probably not. Probably not. You didn't need the threat of physical violence. You needed a hug there too. When you were angry and your mom was like, stop it, you're embarrassing me, right? What is the message that we got? Push that shit down. And I'm gonna hold it in. I'm holding in my anger. And so when I'm a grown ass adult, I'm angry. Now I'm married, now I have kids, but I'm gonna hold it in and I'm not gonna let anybody in because that's what I learned how to do. That's how I learned to handle any of these emotions. The good news is, though, once you identify that, you can identify the patterns of behavior that emerge that allow you to cope with any of those feelings. How did you handle sadness as a kid? How did you handle fear as a kid? How did you handle joy as a kid, right? How did your parents teach you, or maybe the people who raised you, foster parents, any of these things, right? Was your environment, was your childhood safe enough for you to feel these feelings? More than likely, probably not. Otherwise, you wouldn't be keep watching this video. So now, once we identify, okay, well, what did I learn, right? Like, let's look at our blueprint. Let's look at what did I do to handle the emotions that I felt as a kid? Because remember, all behavior is learned behavior. It's something that you learn. So what are the implications of that? It's a gift. When you realize that these are learned behaviors, then you can unlearn them, or you can learn something new. You can learn something new. You can always learn. You can always grow. You can always change. Okay? But first we got to identify what's there. What's there? So when I was sad, my mom would give me a lollipop. Well, what has that lollipop now become? Has a lollipop now become porn addiction? For me, that was my lollipop, right? That was my coping mechanism for decades. I would feel stressed out, and this would be the thing to help me out. For my father, it was alcohol. Oh, okay, I feel stressed, angry, afraid, I feel confused. So let me drink to quiet the voices in my head, to numb the pain, to simply chill the fuck out. So that was one way. Another way, internalization. Okay, I'm gonna just push it in and I'm not gonna let anybody in. Why? Because I don't want to bother anybody. I don't want to bother my father, right? With my anger or with my tears. And so let's look at that. Let's crack this thing open and let's look at how did I handle emotions? What did I learn, right? I don't want to belabor the point here, but this is important. What did I learn? This is what I learned. Okay, cool. So now we have data. Now we have data. This is what I learned how to do. This is how I learned to meet my emotional needs. When I was sad, lollipop. When I was angry, close in and just squeeze and squeeze and squeeze and hold it in, right? Until I would erupt later. So that was another way that I got to meet my emotional needs. Now remember, at our core, everybody just wants to be seen, heard, and understood and loved for who they truly are. Everybody wants this. Now it is our responsibility. It is our opportunity to identify, how did I handle life, right? As a kid, how have I been handling life and all these big feelings and these big emotions? And now how do I want to? How do I want to handle these things? So we have the identification process down. Now what's next, right? For me, one of the processes that I move my clients through is forgiving ourselves. Because we have so much judgment for ourselves for coping with life the way that we did. We have so much judgment for drinking. We have so much judgment for our drug addiction, so much judgment for our porn addiction. We have so much judgment for any of these coping mechanisms that we latched onto in order to survive, in order to get through the day, get through our teenage years, in order to get through anything. So we can identify these things. We can forgive ourselves for judging ourselves for them. Okay? And then we can create. All right, lollipop. Got it. So lollipop has now become candy, food, sex, alcohol, porn, whatever. Well, what do I want my new lollipop to be? What are my options? One of your options is, instead of stuffing your face or instead of drinking it away to numb the pain, one of our options is to simply sit and feel. Right? What did we need as a kid? I didn't need a lollipop. I needed a hug. Well, what can I fucking do? I can do this. I can hug myself. What else did I need? Maybe I needed encouragement. Hey, it's okay. You got this. Right? My need to feel safe. What can I do? I can validate. That's another option. I can validate my emotions. I can validate myself for feeling the way that I do. It's okay. It's okay that you're feeling sad about your divorce. That's okay. What's another emotional need? Like the need to feel creative, right? So what's in the way of that? Well, my resentments, my anger, whatever. I'm closed in, but I have an emotional need to feel like creative, right? I want to feel creative. Cool. So I'm going to express my anger. I'm going to let it out somehow. I'm going to find a way of getting it in my body, and then just giving voice to that emotion, right? Oh, wow. And now, what else can I do? I can write an angry poem. I can give voice to the emotions, to the energy that lives within myself. Is this making sense? We identify these patterns of behavior from childhood. We can forgive ourselves for doing the best that we could in order to survive. And then we can equip ourselves. We can empower ourselves and equip ourselves with new coping mechanisms, with new options, right? New ways of handling energy within ourselves that will allow us to be more of who we truly are. So what are some emotional needs? Well, let's find out. You're going to go on a journey with me, okay? Let's do this. Ba-ba. There we go. Yeah, no. What are you talking about? No, I'm connected. Get out of here. Core emotional needs. All right. So, core emotional needs encompass fundamental aspects of human well-being, including secure attachment, autonomy, freedom of expression, realistic limits, and a sense of belonging, right? So, let's look at that first. There we are. As a kid, were you given freedom to feel what it is that you were feeling? No? Okay. Well, now we can. That's how you meet an emotional need, the emotional need for freedom. You know what? I'm feeling angry. I'm going to grant myself permission to express my anger. I just met the emotional need for freedom to be me in that moment. So that's the freedom of expression, right? Secure, or rather, a sense of belonging. Hey, you know, I feel sad that I'm divorced, and I want to feel like I belong. Okay, cool. Well, what can I do? 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 Who can I be? What can I do? How do I meet this need? I can spend time with friends. Good. That gives me a sense of belonging. I can serve people. I can go to the soup kitchen. Cool. Now I have a sense of belonging. I can validate myself. It's okay that you feel this way. And guess what, Richard? You belong with me. You belong with me. Not to quote Taylor Swift, right? She's the GOAT, but I belong with myself. I belong with God. I can express it. I can validate it. I can remind myself that I belong to my higher power. I can go to a meeting, right? I can go to a support group. I can go to therapy or counseling. I can go to my men's group. I can do so many different things to meet that need rather than cope with the fact that I don't even know what it is. So what secure attachment, right? Need for a deep, enduring emotional bond with others. So secure attachment, right? When you have a strong, big feeling and you feel like nobody understands you, or you would inconvenience somebody, or any of these other mental narratives that keep us from connecting to people. You empathize with yourself. Hey, you know what? I've felt sad before, and I know what this feeling is like, and this feeling is completely okay. So you see how they all kind of bleed into each other, right? But I say all this to say that there's a process to identifying what your emotional needs are. What are the patterns of behavior that you learned from childhood in order to try and meet them? How did you meet secure attachment as a kid? Right? We latched ourselves on potentially to other kids. How did we meet autonomy and freedom of expression? Right? Maybe we drew some screwed up pictures, or we wrote poetry, or we wanted to join a band. We created a t-shirt company, and we try to save the world that way. It's these things that we're all trying to meet and experience and love ourselves, and to get that out from the world as well. My invitation to you is to one, simply identify what are the emotional needs: secure attachment, autonomy, and freedom of expression, realistic limits, and a sense of belonging. Let's start with just those four, right? Okay, so what will help me get these? Well, what helped me get them as a kid? Now I know. The bottle, the crack pipe, the sex, the relationships, the personal development, overeating, any of those things, right? Cool, got it. So this is what I have. This is the data. Now what can I do about this? Well, I can forgive myself for this. I can let myself off the hook and have some compassion for myself. And then what? Then what? Then what? I can choose. I can choose something new. So I hope this helps. I hope this clarifies some things. I'll put a link below this video to just, looking at some of these emotional needs and giving yourself some more context and some more clarity as to how you can potentially meet them as well. But I wanted to share this because I've absolutely been there, and I didn't know any of this. And I want you to know this. And I want you to know that it is completely okay. And you did whatever you had to do in order to survive and to handle these emotions. But now you're grown. Now you have power. Now you have capacity, and you have the freedom to try new stuff, to meet yourself, to validate yourself, to meet your own emotional needs. And this will give you a sense of sovereignty in the world, of ownership, of control. And then from that place, you get to be who you truly are, and then attract the people that you want to attract into your life, whether it be a dream partner, better relationships with friends, more aligned clients for your business, more purpose to yourself, because you took that step, a very, very courageous step to identify your pain, to feel your shit, and to resource yourself. so that you can fully be who you truly are. You got this, man. All right. Have a good one. I'll see you on the next one.